All right, everybody, welcome back. It's the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and you may have noticed we tried out some new theme music this week. If you hate the new theme music, please write in angrily on Spotify or Instagram, wherever, let us know.
Right? Or if you liked it, but you've become so familiar with the theme music.
Yeah,
as I have
Michael's very against this new theme music.
I feel like we have been doing it for long enough, and we have a loyal cadre of listeners at this point that may also be bopping their head, similar to how I do every week.
I see. Well, I got my audio interface repaired, which has been why the sound quality has fluctuated a little bit in the last couple of episodes, but it's back. And to celebrate, I've got my old synths out. I've got my old drum machines from the 80s out.
Yeah, it feels like you're going through a bit of a creative explosion right now.
I'm going through a musical renaissance, Michael, except now
Fantastic.
I'm no longer a rock artist. I'm now a techno artist. That's right.
Finally. I've been waiting for this period.
I mean, this is techno revisited, though. I had a techno phase in like 2009 also. So
yeah, well, that was before me, so I'm happy.
I guess that's true. We did not yet know each other, so I may as well not have existed. So Michael is in the UK, where he'll be for the next little while. Duration TBD.
Right.
But to celebrate that, we just thought we'd talk about how the world is a nightmare.
Yeah.
As we touched on a bit last week, there has been a new tranche of Epstein.
Always a tranche. It's always a tranche, isn't it?
Is that how you even say it? It's tranche, right? It's not tranche.
I've never heard it said any other way.
I think it's got to be tranche. There's a lot of
tranche.
Tranche, just like
tranche?
That's how they say it in Missouri.
No, is tranche just quantity, or is it meant to also be like inside something is salacious exists?
No, I think it's just quantity. I think it's just like a slew.
Like the tranche. It's always something like the Panama Papers.
I think of one of those accordion folders that's kind of bursting, filled with documents.
Sure. Okay.
That's what I think of when I think of a tranche. So I mean,
but to be clear, just so you obviously know more about this than I do, but it is definitely not all of the files, correct?
I mean, I don't know.
Like that's what I've heard is this is still not all of them.
I mean, there's
every.
When they released it, they claimed this would be the last release. But
yes, that doesn't mean that it's all the files.
No, I mean, they don't have, for instance, I listened to the TrueAnon pod, who are the best people to listen to on all of this material, just earlier today. And one thing they brought up, among many other things, was WhatsApp conversations are not here. So if the feds have Epstein's WhatsApp, because in several emails, he's like, hit me on WhatsApp, to various interlocutors. We don't have any of that.
Well, then there's also the Xbox thing, right?
What do you mean?
So I mean, again, we're going to talk about this in a slightly different way, I think, going forward. But in terms of what I know to be real or not really, as a consumer of it, not a journalist, right? Where it's like, apparently he had an Xbox Live account.
Well, he was kicked off of in 2013.
And then someone, I read someone saying that the encryption there in the voice chats is strong. So that could be somewhere where he was being more explicit about what he was doing.
Possibly. I don't know that was a vector for his information endeavors.
Yes, of course.
And it appears that he was kicked off not because of Bill Gates directly, but just because Microsoft did a sweep of kicking off all sex offenders from the system.
Sure.
Probably a good.
Just got to do a sweep every now and then.
Yeah, periodic, just a periodic
sweep, right?
Sex offender sweep, But I mean, for me, the Epstein thing, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but the problem is the immensity of the information and the utterly chaotic way in which it has been disseminated. Which is to say, it's just a huge. There's no like.
It's just a tranche, my man.
There's no Dewey Decimal System. There's no. How do we read this in a discerning way? Is the big problem, right?
No, it's kind of like the perfect sort of, parenthesis information drop. of our era, right? It fits with the way that we consume things and the chaotic nature with which we scroll through a thing or an opinion or a fact, an argument, a counter argument, a discourse, a dialogue, a politics, right?
Sure.
And this is just that on absolute steroids because we've all been obsessed with this for years and years. And every time there's a new drop, it's becomes more and more clear to everybody that this was a significant ring that um, had truly devastating effects on hundreds, thousands of people's lives. You know,
Right. And I mean, it's hard to look at all of this and not become the equivalent of Q pill, on
mm-hmm.
like just pilled on the idea that, oh, there is a secret network of evil rich people doing sex crimes, whatever. I think what's the reason that the QAnon people are kind of flummoxed by this is because it lacks the black and white morality through which they see the world. Republican
Right.
good, Democrat bad.
Interesting.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like they look at this and they're like, wait, he's talking to this guy, he's a Republican, and he's talking to this guy who's a Democrat. What the hell? Like I thought all the
Right.
Democrats were the Satanists or whatever. And it's like, no, like
Right.
everyone.
And so many of those people, it's like it's hard for them to like do any real class analysis, right? It can run counter to their
Well,
politics
no, because
often.
that's more left coded. I mean,
That's right. That's
right.
right. Right. So this like mysterious elite that is all talking in code versus just email that says, "Hey man, loved the torture video" or what have you,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Or like, oh, I hope like so and so is as hot as you say. Right? It's all just like,
Well, right. I mean, it's also this idea that the Q people have that like it would have to be this code, it would have to be this secret. And they just kind of went back and forth on email.
right. And it was
You know?
just they're just all but overtly talking about women and who's going to be there and how many
Right.
women, and everyone's under 25 at the party. He says to the
Yeah.
Musk. The other thing is, it's one thing that occurred to me as we're looking at this is there's just such a glut of information, right? It reminds me of the problem with AI, which
Hmm.
is that AI, generative AI, is just creating so much content
Yeah.
that it's starting to clog up search results, like on Google. Like
Hmm.
it's becoming very difficult to discern. Um, like people everywhere are just having ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., just generate text for them constantly, and then presenting it unfact checked, unedited,
Yep.
trusting the AI as if it is their own work. And it's like, uh, there's at a certain point you're like going through all of this stuff, and there's no way to verify anything, right?
Hmm.
And then like the haphazard way with the Epstein files that they're redacted, where the redacting is like really half-assed. Like
What do you
there's
mean?
well, like there's some things where you're reading an email and a name is redacted, and then a little while later, referring to the same person, it's not, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
so like Jenny is one that the TrueAnon people talked about, in that they read an email where it's like blacked out name, and then a few seconds later, Kimball Musk or whoever is like, Jenny says this, and it's like, oh well, shouldn't that have been redacted too?
And
Whoops.
is it just like, are we just seeing the result of just despite the seriousness of it, like just incredibly sloppy work from law enforcement? Is
Well,
that
I
what
think
this
it's
is?
yes for sure, but it's also because of the congressional act that demanded these things be released in a very rapid time frame,
Yeah.
and the fact that 300,000 civil servants have been fired in the last year, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's directly related, but it could be. Um, they're not up to the task, right? I mean, there were talks of lawyers doing all-nighters redacting this stuff.
Yeah. And it helps if they're not up to the task, of course, right? Because it's this very weird um, release by people who are trying to protect people who are often in the files, right? As we know. And what this, I think, allows it to do is reduce the credibility in all any number of ways, right? So
Of the
you release
government.
it, but like that helps
That's what
reduce the
that's their
credibility.
that's part of their
Yes,
project. Yeah.
that's right. That's part of the project. So it's like there's this overall notion, even though they are the government, right? And it helps to protect the people in the emails, of course, in the files, because when you release it this way and just sort of throw it up on a site and then it gets sent out through social media, very shortly thereafter, you're going to start getting fake emails.
Right. I mean, we talked last week about the girls FTW Elon email, which I said at the time, I think this is fake. Turns out it was fake. That's not a real email. But there's a lot of stuff like that now circulating because this form
and the culture of the document too, right? Where it's like something that looks like this.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Considered real.
The form, right?
The form.
Yes. Like now that you know, also like Epstein's typo-ridden writing style that people are now imitating, like adding little equal signs in the middle of words out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen people starting to do that in either in their fake documents or in just making fun of Epstein.
Right.
So one thing that I was like, I feel like we've entered a new intellectual paradigm. We're talking about like just the informational framework that we could use to deal with this. Like, it's not really postmodernism anymore, right? Like, according to Jameson, who's the sort of the biggest theorist of postmodernism, the author of Postmodernism, for instance, postmodernism is characterized by like a kind of endless collage or pastiches of material denuded from historical context. So something's postmodern when it's like it's got just a random bricolage of of the tropes of different eras or the symbolism of different eras, right? It's kind of pushing itself outside of historical context, but that's not what's happening here. I mean, everything in this is dated. It's so weird. We have this like weird timeline that we're kind of fixing it to. But then there's the bigger problem is this is like postmodern in a different sense, I guess. But there are just so many gaps. Like there are aporias, as Derrida would call them, where it's like we cannot know what information is underneath that blacked out section of a text, right? And it invites us to kind of fill in that detail, but we have no means of like really reliably doing that.
Right. And some of the emails themselves, we can choose what tone we want to read them in, whether they were sent in seriousness or not. I mean, again, not to excuse any
right. It's not, we're not claiming there weren't terrible crimes committed by these people in these emails. There obviously were, but they all also gonna make jokes. So like when they're not always right, everything can't be read on the level of the literal, right? We can't just be like, so it's this weird thing where we can't look for hidden meaning. I mean, we want to, but we can't do that reliably. But then we can't also just read the surface because there is innuendo. There are these like, it's very vexing. So we're kind of like,
well, it is, but it's also, I mean, to me, it's all sort of a piece of the destruction of the framework and consistency of our information, right? And not that the ability to propagandize didn't exist before social media, right?
Right.
But all this to say that, like, you know, it matters, you know, whatever you want to say about places like the Post, right? When Bezos buys it. And then
or Twitter when Musk buys Twitter.
Or Musk buys Twitter.
Or Ellison buys TikTok, right? I mean, TikTok is now
and I think one of the things that I keep coming to, because like one of my New Year's resolutions was to like try to clean up the content I consume, right? Like just stop with as much of the slop as possible and the time wasted scrolling through these. And you can see that by doing things like the Epstein Files like this, and basically we'll get to the other stuff that we wanted to talk about, but prediction markets and all this piercing of who knew what when and what's true and what's being fabricated, what's being manufactured for which aim, you know, whether it's like, are we manufacturing consent to be able to go get oil, or are we now like manufacturing something so someone might win a bunch of money on Polymarket on Thursday?
No, exactly.
Right? And it's incessant to the point where your mental health more and more, I think, is going to depend on not consuming it. But that is what anybody in power would love to have happen, right? If that the only
That's right.
healthy thing
Yeah.
to do is disengage and not look. Never mind, just like screens are bad for your attention or whatever. Don't limit your screen time. We're talking about like you're just going to like the only way to remain coherent in the way that you process things, you know, more and more is going to be about not being involved with these things. And
Right. And
when the
yeah, I feel that way about it.
and that to me is a very, very frightening reality that more and more people, when we put more and more of our lives and the manipulation thereof onto technological apparatus, right? Whether it's AI or just the internet or social media and all of that. As we do that, the difficulty of maintaining coherence, it is not only does it get worse and worse, it makes it so that if you choose to back away from it, right, then the populace will be even more disengaged and not informed, because when you try to get informed, you are fighting this very strange battle of what am I actually looking at, right?
No, that's right. And I mean, the AI thing is a big part of this, right? It's just like there are people who are using AI a lot, and even people I like and respect and who are smart and good writers and things like that. And already I feel like we'll talk about I have a segment about this a little later, but like you can just sort of sense, and this is vibes, it's not empirical, but like AI rots your brain in a new way. You know, when you like
Mm-hmm.
start outsourcing thinking to this stuff, I'm not saying it has to. Again, I'm not a Luddite. I don't think, you know, put it all in the fire or whatever. I mean, maybe, but it's it doesn't seem good. It doesn't seem like it's helping us to think more clearly, or as you to put it in your terms, to be more coherent, right? Because it's
Yeah.
like now we're bombarded by information at all the times. That's been the case at least since we've been on Twitter and other social media sites. So last 15, 20 years, right? But now with this like there's like this engine that's just churning bullshit all the
Yeah.
time. And it's
Yeah.
anyway, before we get off on too much of a tangent, I just want to pull us back to the files. One thing that I've really noticed, and I talked about this a bit last week also, is that a new kind of insanity seems to be emerging. Um,
Of course.
that
How could it not?
well, just of like Epstein Files based insanity, right? And I just have one example that I found here on Twitter. This is from one of the letters, right? We don't know who this person is. Oh, it's Gino Yu sent this to Epstein. I don't know who
Mm-hmm.
Gino Yu is. It's not important. Am in Paris and was about to write you, and it popped up. She is a classic stage 3 in the model. It's talking about a woman here. Outlier who is intelligent, was traumatized when she was young, sexual abuse, and now gradually coming into her own and becoming self-realized, can share our text interaction with her permission. Oh, you're going to ask her permission. How thoughtful. Starting to
Oh,
develop special abilities. The trip we found This trip we found a lot of stories like this, though she is more on the extreme side given her biographical history. Biological history would be a
mhm.
little too weird even for these people.
Yeah.
Have been working with many such people with the model with good success. Incidentally, she's based in New York City, can set you up with a meeting if you have interest. In London, I met with a group
Unbelievable.
that leverages Iboga and spiritual traditions from Gabon to offer this. And then it just
God.
ends alternate paradigms. And then Epstein replies, "What prompted your Asperger email?" Okay, so that's an insane email about a guy
Mhm.
profiling a woman who's been abused using some model that he and Epstein are. I'm assuming Gino was a man. Who knows? Uh, that they've that
Right. They've seemingly talked about or even developed on their own.
that's right,
Right.
and that she has special abilities. And then someone on Twitter reads this and is like, "This is someone called Nick Hinton. Epstein email leaks confirm what television shows like The OA and Stranger Things have been telling us for years. When trauma
Hard hitting docudramas.
Yeah, well, this is classic QAnon stuff.
Yeah.
Like they had TV is we are watching a movie. The movie is reality. Anyway, when trauma-based mind control fractures someone's psyche, the victim gains psychic abilities. Science is just coming full circle to ancient demonic practices. So, and then there's a couple images from these shows and the email that I just read. And then Hesse from Seeking Derangements and Movie Mindset replies, an alternative explanation could be that Jeffrey Epstein was wrong about this obviously insane thing, and he thought this because he was an insane pedophile. But yeah, also, I guess stranger things could be real. And I don't know, for me, this is so illustrative of like the special abilities. We don't even know what he means by that. We don't know that he means she was psychic or whatever. But this person's just like, well, this confirms my long-held belief in ancient demonic practice. And it's just like, there's so much of this. This is just one. I could have found 100 other
and
examples.
Just the language of it is like, I mean, it's so creepy. Like, and now gradually coming into her own and becoming self-realized, can share our text interactions with her permission. Like, it is an amazing example, whatever is real out of this, of just the completely, and this is where I think you get these insanities, right? Often is that these people, for lack of a better term, the elite at this level really do show the ability to exist on a completely different plane of reality in many ways, right? All of these conventions that apply to all of us don't seem to apply to them, right? And so it's very easy to take that fact that, like, just by virtue of being able to have whatever a 10,000 acre ranch in New Mexico and a private island, right?
Yep.
That it's going to facilitate a completely different world and a completely different, to use this person's term, like model of being, and the people, victims and otherwise, who come in and out of these worlds, presumably also have their minds completely mangled by this. And again, that's not a justification. It's just that you can see how from there people can very easily take it to, yeah, well, where would it actually end? Actually, they're probably a lot like 11 in Stranger Things.
Yeah, like, it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but again, like, it again, we Epstein is the current thing, that of the moment, but it's surrounded by everything. Like the idea that you could lay off 300 people from the Post and it's the drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
This is a truly sort of unprecedented informational age, and being here, I'm in London right now for a little bit, and while it's obviously very disappointing to hear that there will be no investigations in the States for any of the people who are implicated or behind these redactions.
Well, at least not while Trump is still in power.
Sure, but
yeah. So okay, another 3 years
it looks like they got away with it, and they are telling us that they have gotten away with it, and ultimately there's not much that you're going to be able to do about it. Here it is. Trump is not, it's actually not like it's evil, but it's not insane when he's like, I think the country needs to move beyond Epstein. And what I mean by not insane is that is strategic. It's literally like, we'll put this out there. Nothing is going to happen. Your president is clearly involved.
That's right.
And implicated. Yep. And you see this where being over here, and again, not to say that it's so much better over here, and places like the BBC are these bastions, but
well, no 5G though, so you can. It's the air. Sure. The air is much clearer.
Yeah. That's right. I am. My mind is some of the brain fog's gone too. But like, Starmer might be out.
Yeah.
His chief of staff left. Because
of this Mandelson creep. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, and you do see places that aren't America still have a slightly more conventional way of dealing with the public dealings of public figures when they are implicated in things like this.
I think especially
that some of them are having.
in the UK after Jimmy Savile and the way he was just,
Sure.
I mean, he died and then the horrors that he'd been doing for decades came out.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of sensitivity in the aftermath of that, perhaps.
But just think about the scale of like Starmer's involvement in this, and the fact that it could easily lead to him having to leave. And then look,
some of us
Trump's
would say
involvement.
That. Oh yeah. I mean, he was literally like one of Epstein's best friends. It's crazy.
Right.
It'd be a real shame if Starmer left. He's been such a bastion of never mind.
Yeah, but yeah, the way that it is spoken about here,
one thing
is more about finding some consequences, I think.
Yeah.
At least more. There's stuff obviously a bunch going on in Norway as well.
Sure. Oh no, and not the Norwegian royal family.
Yes,
not Princess Mette-Marit.
The Norwegian royal family at a time like this. But yeah, just like, and that's the other impression I get from being here for a few days is just, people just can't. I think it's getting harder for people to grasp what is going on in America.
Yeah,
I really do.
Oh yeah.
That there's just kind of this suspension of like, what can we glean? And you think about how much more difficult it would be if you're not like there,
Totally.
But I do think that the amount of stories, like we could do this every week. Next, like we've got a couple other things to talk about, but why don't you introduce the Moltbook thing, for example? Because that just sort of flacked across the algorithm for a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, one last thing on the
it burned bright, Stu. It burned bright.
It was an Icarus flight. One thing I was going to say before that is Trump has really been saved by the fact that he didn't use email in the 2000s, right? I mean, like, it's the one time he's been saved. But yeah, Moltbook. So, all right, are you familiar with what these claw like AI things are? Like so like these are what are known as agents, AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
And people are getting a computer. I listened to 404 Media podcast about this earlier today just to like try and understand what's going on, because as I've probably made clear, I don't use any of this shit. I mean, I think this shit fucking sucks. But basically people get a little Mac Mini, they install this LLM assistant on it, and it's able to like text you or send you signal chats or message you on Discord, whatever.
Okay.
So the interacting with it is less like opening up the Chat GPT or the Gemini portal and typing in. It's more like talking to one of your friends, right? And you can, depending on how much you empower it, like you can give it your credit card and you can say, hey, I need a flight to Vienna on this date. Can you, and it'll say, sure, I'll like find the best, it'll go off. It has these they're called agents. These AI agents have like a little bit more autonomy than just your standard chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
And people are using them like you would use a personal assistant, right? And this is a big product. I've seen annoying people tweeting about it constantly for weeks. And then the big story of last week was apparently there's like this Moltbook, which is now no longer called that. They used to be called Moltbots, but they've changed. They decided the word molt is kind of makes people uncomfortable. It's sort of a moist situation, as 404 Media put it. It's like a word that bothers some people. So now it's called, I think it's called like Claw AI or something. I forget what it's. They've rebranded it several times because originally it was called Claudebot, CLAWD.
Okay.
But then the Anthropic make Claude like the Claude AI, CLAUDE, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? We already have Claude.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they made a website allegedly that was like a forum where in order to interact in the forum,
like a Reddit,
a pattern on Reddit, you had to be one of these agents. So allegedly, no humans were allowed, and this caused a panic briefly because last week a story broke that was like they're forming side chats in private
and like developed a religion. Like there were a few claims that were just like, they're suing someone in North Carolina, and then someone won money on a prediction market saying that an AI would sue a human by X date. I mean, then that wasn't true. you know?
And a lot of people immediately started talking about Skynet, of course, because that's all anyone can ever think about. And so MIT Technology Review releases this thing today saying, MIT Technology Review has confirmed the posts on Moltbook were fake. Just a few days ago, many AI influencers, including Andrej Karpathy, had said that the website was the most incredible sci-fi takeover. It wasn't.
Yeah.
The taking over humanity posts were human-generated. The top downloads were malware, human-generated. It was a phishing website dressed up in AI hype.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's the same thing with the Waymos. You see that they got them to admit that they've got
drivers in the Philippines who are driving them. Yeah.
Right. It's like
of course they do, Michael.
Such a con, that and it's funny because this was stoking fear, right?
Right. Well, I mean,
like,
the last part of it is
a lot of this stuff, like pretending that Waymos fully drive by themselves or whatever, is designed to build like excitement
and investment. This is like
an investment.
So if you're worried about AI taking over the world in a few years, please don't. There's no research basis for that opinion. Great. Well, we can stop covering AI on the pod, I guess. Psych. Anthropic and OpenAI want you to believe that they are just months away from artificial general intelligence because it results in free marketing, boosting their stock value. Stay skeptical, stay safe, right? And Adam Tooze, whom I really like, and I think is a very shrewd historian and has good politics. But one of the things I'm a little bit skeptical about is and he's one of the people I was alluding to before when I was like, there's smart people I admire who do use AI a lot. So like on the Ones and Twos podcast, Tooze will be like, well, according to what ChatGPT has just told me, like the GDP of Pakistan has shrunk like this, or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm like, Adam Tooze, the thing about Adam Tooze is like, he's one of the smartest people that I've like ever encountered in terms of just massive amount of information at his fingertips at all times, familiarity with broad arrays of historical context, just like one of these people, you hear him talk, you're like, oh, this guy could just talk for like 7 hours straight, never repeat himself, and have something interesting to say about like almost any topic people would bring up. And then it's like, why is that kind of guy
it's troubling.
Like
it's worrying.
Using AI? Like, I mean, I have pretty good recall myself. I pride myself in being a bit of an information machine, if you will.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I don't do is ever use AI in this way because it's filled with errors and lies, right?
Weird.
Right? And so I'm like, I'm not saying I'm flawless myself. I make mistakes. I've made countless mistakes on the pod. But
even those are your mistakes.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Using traditional sourcing methods that have existed for a
or I'm just getting confused and forgetting something.
Sure.
Like, I mean, all sorts of human things. But it's like when you defer to AI, you're doing that as an expedient with the belief that the machine is reliable, but the machine is not reliable in a way that's different from human unreliability because the machine wants to please you.
Yes, and that's the last thing we're going to talk about is the Kalshi prediction markets.
Well, before we do that, let me just read this text from this tweet from Tooze, which I think is illustrative. Okay. He says, "Did we just fail some kind of perverse stakes-raised Turing test because we believed in the Moltbook thing? We thought it was AI acting human when in fact it was just humans acting out their fantasy of AI being superhuman. Or is this just the chess-playing automaton, the so-called mechanical Turk, for the 2020s?" Right? And then in the replies, people are just like, yo, why are you so dumb? Like, everyone thought this was fake. Like, I mean, when you saw this thing about the AIs meeting in a chat room to plot the downfall of humanity, did you think it was real?
I had no idea.
My first instinct was, that's not something I need to look into. I don't know. I
Yeah, I
like.
mean, sure.
I,
I just don't know. I just my knowledge about the capabilities of AI and is no doubt influenced by the notion that there is some sort of exponential growth that I'm told is going on. That any day I find some crazy new development, whether it's like the Claude assistant is going
right.
to end
Right.
work or whatever, and it just goes on and on. It's like what I'm talking about at the beginning of the podcast. It's like it makes your brain into mush, right? And what I was going to say, I think that that quote is telling and extremely frightening, right? It's that does feel exactly to me what the case of this was. But when you say like, yeah, they want to make it look like we're approaching the singularity because it's good for
It's good
marketing and good for
marketing.
stock
Yeah.
prices,
Yeah.
and that plays into the Kalshi stuff, to the prediction market stuff.
And
It's
to
like,
the Google car being driven in the Philippines,
right, where
and to
like
like that
the
everything is
dangers,
fucking fake, Michael.
right,
Right?
everything is
Like,
fake, and that, like, how do I say this? Like the worst parts of the hype economy that has before this been primarily constrained
startups,
to
different.
collectibles
Oh,
and
well, yeah, it was
you
something
know
you know about. Yeah.
well, you know what I mean, like the like sneakers, whatever it is, um, that it's getting into everyday reality,
Yeah.
you know, every single day. I'm a huge NBA fan, you're a huge NBA fan, and the trade deadline is like one of everyone's favorite times of year, kind of in the middle of the most boring section of play,
Yep.
as we're waiting to get to the playoffs and who's going to make these big moves, and all of a sudden you're hearing, Giannis Antetokounmpo is, one of the best players
He's
if you
on the
don't watch
move. He's
basketball.
on the move. It's a sure thing.
He's actually asking to get out. He
He's doing
wants
it
out, which
politely,
is,
but he's asking to get out.
yeah.
It's,
And typically, the players of this stature, they then get moved, and then as we found out, a market in millions and millions of dollars unfolds across Kalshi, Polymarket, whatever, about what team he's going to end up playing for. Well, twist, he doesn't get traded. Which, if you're listening to the guys like Zach Lowe, it's like, no, probably not, because it just makes more sense for a guy like that to be traded in the off season. They don't really have a reason to do it. If there's not a great offer, they're just not going to do it. He's been basically saying that the whole time,
yeah, a
right?
lot of people have.
Of course. And after the date was, I think it was the day after the deadline. It was extremely close to it.
Yep.
I'll say that. He just tweets out that he's now a shareholder in Kelshi.
Yeah. We're all
And
on we all on Kalshi now, I think is his.
Yeah, we all on Kalshi now, and it's like, everyone has opinions. I'm gonna share some of my own. It's like, what are you talking about? What does that even know? I don't even know what that means. It's like you're a shareholder. Presumably, you're not even supposed to be part of the market making process. One would imagine. I don't know how it works, but I am assuming he's not supposed to be putting money on predictions on the site he is. I don't know.
It's
I have
just
no
like
idea.
Pete Rose, right? I mean, like what?
Well, but think about that. Think about what Pete Rose was banned
Yeah.
for betting. I believe that it was never proven that it was on his own.
Yeah. On
It
the
was against
Reds.
his own team,
Yeah.
right? And he became like persona non grata at what the time was America's most important and popular sport.
The all-time
And
hits leader. I mean,
now you've got, like, I mean, there was a coach. Who was it? Was it Rick Barnes? Maybe college coach who, like, I guess, like, was upset at his team and some of the passes they were making, turnovers. And did you hear this? He's like, sometimes I think my players are betting on the games.
yeah.
And it's like half joke, half frustration, but whatever. It's like we have completely eaten away at the integrity of sports
Of everything, though, right?
of everything, right? But like these things that, like, there were such safeguards to at least keep the facade that this wasn't
Right. I mean, there was
right?
such moral outrage about Pete Rose that he was the one of the greatest hitters of all time in terms of
Mm-hmm.
getting on base. Had 4,000 hits or something in his
Yeah,
career. Something totally crazy. Multiple time champion, star player
mm-hmm.
for decades. They were like, "You're not in the Hall of Fame, buddy. Sorry."
Yeah,
Like,
and he's one of the most popular players in his heyday.
oh yeah,
Obviously.
and yeah,
and now you're just like, this guy is in the prime of his career, in a moment, Stu, where the NBA has already been beset by
numerous gambling scandals. There's several
And
players
now
currently under investigation.
Giannis is one of the most popular players in the world. right?
Yep.
And it doesn't, and although there has been a lot of criticism since he did tweet it, right? Um, the very fact that he's comfortable enough to do it, right, is just as frightening, I think. Because it would be one thing to find out that some family member of his had somehow surreptitiously become a shareholder at Kalshi or whatever,
Right.
right?
His
But
one of
he's
his
just out
brothers or
there.
whatever. No, but he's
Right.
just
I am an athlete who has a market on Kalshi every day, I'm sure. I'm
yeah,
sure. Every single day, it's like, will Giannis have 20 points or more? Will he have 30? Will he have 50 or whatever?
sure.
And and there's a comfort level in this is where I think it does tie back to the AI stuff and also to the Epstein stuff, is that like the we are being presented an inevitability of hopelessness, right? An
Yeah.
impossibility of improvement. And we are being told that the worst aspects of our social lives um, are up for no real discussion. They are inevitable. AI will simply happen.
Yep.
Anyone can say otherwise. It's just gonna. And
We're
all of a sudden,
outsourcing driving cars to the
and
Philippines.
I think Trunon also talked about this, where it's like all of a sudden the prediction markets were exponentially more important than they were a month before. And
Yeah.
like I follow this stuff, I
Yeah.
mean, I've bet on sports before. I have like the DraftKings or whatever, the
Sure.
FanDuel stuff.
Yeah.
And Kalshi and Polymarket always existed. It's like, oh yeah, you can bet on like who's gonna win the Senate or whatever,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
particular congressional. Oh, weird. And then all of a sudden, don't you just feel like it's just everywhere,
Yeah.
like that? And instead of it being like, oh yeah, I mean, again, it's like ice, right? Like treating it like it's forever, that
Yep.
it's this institution. I mean, no, this has not been around. None of these things have been around. We act like they are all the time. I always say, if you're not a Luddite, it's like all I know is the first like presidential election that really felt like it was online led to the stupidest person in America being the president.
Yep.
So, maybe it's not just because of the internet, but these are certainly factors. And yet it's like, sorry, nothing we can really do. It's all happening.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
how do you even respond to that when you find out that there's workers in the Philippines who are helping present the illusion to the American consumer that their car doesn't need a driver? But
It's
that's the
I
darkest
mean,
part, is that
it's
like
literally like you
it
have a
works because
chauffeur who's invisible who lives in the
who's in
Philippines.
the Philippines. And it's like it's a really, really sad illustration that like people who do work those jobs in places like that are not considered human by a lot of people here. So
Yeah.
it sure feels like their car is in the future, when actually it's like we've actually invented a new form of slavery. Sharks, I'm asking for it. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yes, Jesus Christ, it's true. It's so fucking
yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
Um, just one last thing on the Kalshi thing. There's this tweet I saw. There's a story. I think it's in Bloomberg, uh, where uh, allegedly a bank analyst published a report showing Kalshi users lose money even faster than sports gamblers. And so Kalshi like pushed back on this. According to this tweet by a rando called Quantian1, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then the head of Kalshi, like their comms department, is in the replies being like, that's actually not what happened. Like, a reporter
Sure.
told us she was doing a story from a data source. The data source is not reliable, and it's like, damn, like Kalshi's comms person is just in the replies of randos being like, no,
Yeah.
Kalshi odds. I mean, Michael, like, one of the ways Kalshi and Polymarket they sell themselves is by being like, well, there's no house, right?
Yeah.
Because the idea is,
Yeah.
well, the house always wins. The odds are.
It's Michael versus Stu.
Yeah,
In a cute little gentleman's wager.
yeah. There's no. It's just your intuition against their intuition or something.
Right.
And
Right. Like instead of us playing, just doing a coin toss while we watch a game, it's like we could go on to Kalshi and be like, will Stu's coin be a heads or tails?
yeah. But it's also like, if this is true, like that people are losing even more money. And I mean, I don't know if it's true. I have no way of verifying this, but it wouldn't shock me. Like,
No.
why are these markets suddenly so flush with cash and money? It's
That's right.
like,
That's
well, clearly they're taking something off the top of all these like winnings in these. There may not be a house in a traditional sense, but they are still becoming richer while like the money isn't just appearing out of nowhere. Like someone's gaining, someone's losing, right?
I mean, that's the thing. You see that like the commonest person in these relatively insignificant tweets. And like, I guess the last thing I would say about all of these different elements that we're talking about, from like Epstein to AI to the Kalshi stuff, is it's like there is this thing behind it, usually, that is very, very problematic, if not outwardly evil, right?
Yeah.
And it does create, you know, whether it's the Stranger Things thing or the just QAnon and all of that. Of course, these things get created, but like, can you imagine like if you were able to get a real look at the financials of like Kalshi and Polymarket and how they operate?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's like you know, it's again, it's a different type of thing, but the same way like what they tell us is happening with AI versus what is, or the damage that the data servers are actually doing to the environment, on and on and on.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know, it's all presented now as basically almost feels like this sort of like species death drive that is being presented as inevitable, you know?
That's how it feels to me too. All right, just to wrap things up, there was a vague post from Aleksandr Dugin, the House philosopher.
But wait, there's more.
The House philosopher of Putinism. He says Monday. We're recording this on Sunday, so this episode comes out on Tuesday. You'll know whether Dugin was right or not by the time you hear this, if you can still hear this. If anyone still has ears on come Tuesday. It says Monday could easily become the most volatile day in the history of the modern world, period. Provides no further details. And everyone in the comments is like, what? What?
Yeah, have you not found this phenomenon more and more, these vague posts?
Yeah, it's just engagement bait. Right?
Yes, but is it anymore, Stu? Because you know we could find out on Tuesday when he like has a sharp looking picture of him looking into middle distance and being like, "We all be on Kalshi now."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's that's kind of where I wanted to go with this.
He's trying to like create market fear because he's got some short on something, and like honestly, that's like, you know, when they came out, they said like our goal, right, is to like make a commodity out of every opinion and piece of information in the world.
Yeah.
And so who knows? This guy might just be making some very small play for $19,000 or something against silver. I don't know, anything.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what might help is if I say something like this. You know?
Yeah. No, it's anyway, it's really crazy. All right, well, I think that's. I mean, there's other stuff we haven't even talked about. This, like
we have to go anyway because the Super Bowl.
Yeah, stock market volatility. We haven't. Yeah, we're recording just before the Super Bowl. So hope it went well for our beloved Patriots. But if it didn't go well, oh well. Also, want to send well wishes to a loyal pod listener friend Rob, who had an unfortunate accident. He's gonna be fine, but just want to send him our best. And we haven't talked about what we're going to do next week yet. We've got an episode on...
Well, I mean, I'm sure we have to wait to see Monday through at this point.
Yeah, well, right. We've got an episode on Melania, the movie coming up. It's in the pipes. We're going to wait till it comes on streaming, just so everyone who needs to see it in the theaters can get that out of the system.
That's right.
That'll probably be a movie or something next week, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome, and maybe we'll hear a little bit more of Michael's quixotic journey through the United Kingdom.
The most exotic journey to the most exotic place in the world.
Well, I said quixotic, so you know, Don Quixote, you know, sort of wandering about, learning of old romances.
That's right,
etc., tilting at windmills and so on. In the meantime, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. If you really like us, you can like you can leave a rating and or a review on... How many times have I said this?
107, I believe.
That's right. All right. In the meantime, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice. And if you really like the show, you can leave us a rating and or a review on that podcatcher. You can also follow us on Instagram, where we are fond of posing. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm just too nervous about the Super Bowl. That's what it is. We're fond of posting on Instagram exciting reels from the episodes that we've done. I can no longer speak Perhaps someone took out a calci bit.
I will be checking on you in about 45 minutes.
No, I'm going to be all right.
Stroked out.
No, I'm going to be okay. Someone's taken a position on how many times I will like fumble on this week's pod, but little do they know I'm aware of that, and I have bet heavily on the over. So,
who needs a Patreon, right?
That's the spirit. We'll just start gaming it on our 100 listenership podcast. Anyway,
yeah, that's right.
But we'll do something fun next week. It'll be good. And until then, this has been the End of the World with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu, and we will talk to you real soon.